Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Ultimate Comics Podcast. My name is Nabeel Gaber, and I'm one of your hosts.
I'm Josh Kang, the other host.
And this is the podcast where we talk about all things comic books and comic book related media, including movies, TV, video games, animated series, yada, yada, yada. This week, Josh and I have decided to just have a chat about what we're reading currently. I've been working a lot in the past few months to really catch up and get up to date on a lot of things as they've been coming out. I've usually been reading Marvel and DC comics as they've come out on Marvel Unlimited or DC Universe Infinite, respectively. So I thought it would be really cool to just catch up and just talk about the state of comics right now and what series we're reading and what we're enjoying and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Josh, you been reading anything good recently?
I've not been reading as much comics as I was when I was either deployed or unemployed. Because both those things involve just sitting around all day doing nothing. By the way, in case someone asked, I was not deployed to war. I was deployed to fuel wildfires a few years ago. And that just involves sitting around all day for me, sometimes.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes, just in case
and
someone
thank
goes,
you for your service too.
Oh,
you're still
welcome.
Fighting those fires.
I was. Sometimes, yeah, it's hard work. But I've been really into the Poison Ivy comics. That's the one comic I've been regularly keeping up with.
Yeah, I've been hearing really good things about that, the G. Willow Wilson Poison Ivy series.
Yeah, I kind of read it on a whim. It's really good, especially because right when I started reading it, I started working for a few tree companies. So
good
don't
timing.
Stop me.
Yeah,
don't stop me.
The stars aligned.
The stars aligned. It's also a very political comic, and I think that's mostly because it's not a mainstream comic-ish. If that makes sense. It's so the writers could just say what they want, and they're not interfering with the main event too much. And I believe this month I need to catch up with some of the newer ones. She's gonna become mayor because every comic involves someone becoming mayor now, I guess. Kingpin becomes mayor. Penguin becomes mayor. Batman was mayor in a few ones. Lex Luthor, I bet, was mayor. Why not?
Well, Lex Luthor was president of the United States, but that's neither here nor there.
I believe he was also mayor at one point. Because he was also Secretary General of the UN, so why not?
Yeah, I'm sure he was mayor of Metropolis at some point. I mean, yeah. I know famously Green Arrow was mayor of Star City.
I forgot about that. Yeah, Green Arrow was there. Yeah, was mayor.
Yeah, they just love making big Marvel DC characters into political figures, specifically the mayors of whichever city they reside in.
I think it makes sense a lot for DC because all the villains and heroes are associated with one city. Batman goes stay out of my city. I run this city.
Yeah, it's all about that one fictional city that is almost like a certain real life city, but not quite.
Yeah. Though I keep delaying it, I did figure out realistically where Gotham City should be. If they ever want to
where's
do
that?
It's in the middle of North Jersey, the most urbanized place in America. But people don't think of it that way because it's all separate cities, even though they're all next to each other. But it's the most urbanized place in America. It's like a Rust Belty town where 10% of the population are millionaires. So, it's perfect to make it into Gotham City. So,
yeah, that sounds just about right, honestly.
Yeah. This Christmas, I finally read Court of Owls. I was inspired to by watching a great Christmas movie called Eyes Wide Shut.
Yes, that's not a Christmas movie, but
it is a Christmas movie. There's a scene where they go Christmas shopping.
Just one scene?
Well, the movie is about them going to different holiday parties and Christmas shopping, and then they figured out that some people at their fancy holiday parties are going to a mysterious place to do a sex cult stuff.
Okay, so as long as the plot revolves around holiday parties and Christmas in general.
Yeah.
Like Die Hard.
Yeah, like Die Hard, which is also a Christmas movie, in my opinion.
No, Die Hard is Iron Man 3, Batman Returns.
Iron Man 3?
Yeah.
What happens in Iron Man 3? There's not a Christmas movie.
It's all set around Christmas.
It is?
Yep. In the ending, his Christmas present to Pepper is he just blows up all his Iron Man suits.
I guess that makes sense-ish. But yeah, I was inspired to read Court of Owls this Christmas because I was like, oh my gosh, I want to read about mysterious rich people meeting in a room with masks.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately pretty timely, yeah.
Yeah. Let's be fair, when that movie and then that comic was made, no one knew how real it was going to be. It was all supposed to be fun. We didn't know it was going to be real.
Well, it's honestly one of the all-time great Batman stories now.
Yeah.
So, 15 years later, Like everybody loves Court of Owls. The Snyder Capullo like New 52 Batman run, it has its ups and downs. Overall, I really love it, but I think when people ask for like the standout, it's got to be like Court of Owls. That's a huge new piece added to the Batman lore there. Things weren't the same after that. Like the Court of Owls became a huge staple that bled into not only other comics but then into other media. They started showing up in like TV series and yeah,
Gotham, I believe.
yeah, Gotham. They became part of that series as well.
Yeah.
They were like showing up in animated movies after that too. So yeah, they became a big staple of the Batman mythos. It's a really well done story too. Really good like
Yeah.
mystery, really good like conspiracy, like thriller,
Yeah.
noir mystery about Batman just finding out that maybe he doesn't know as much about Gotham as he thought he did.
It's also like just the lore building of Gotham and like the world it's in, where like it's just run by these mysterious rich oligarchs who are like meet in the shadows. People
Yeah.
love conspiracy theories like about the Freemasons or the Illuminati, and it's like this is just this.
Yeah, exactly, but for
Yeah.
Gotham.
Yeah.
Yeah. And adding a lot of history to the city. And just the way I think Scott Snyder writes about Gotham as if like there's so much history and the atmosphere to it, like Gotham itself feels like a real character in this story.
I'm pretty sure like you've been around like jokes where people are like, why would anyone live in Gotham? It's like full of crime, criminals, and like supervillains. The way Scott Snyder and a few other, I think it was Scott Snyder who led his head like, well, what if people live in Gotham despite the crime because it's just a nice place to live? Like people move to LA and New York even though it's full of crime and homelessness and poverty because those are genuinely nice places to live. People want to live in Gotham, you know?
Yeah, and there's like a real love that they have for the city too, and it's their
Yeah.
home, which I
Yeah.
think is emphasized a lot in the Snyder Capullo Batman run.
Yeah.
And I love that about that whole run. It even like extends to 0 Year, which I think is a pretty underrated part of that run. The like retelling of Batman's origin and like how he came to be Batman in his first year fighting crime in Gotham. There's a lot of emphasis on Gotham as a city and the people there and like what people love about Gotham and what they love about living there. So yeah, Court of Owls though, that's definitely got to be like the highlight of the run. It's like Jason Aaron's Thor run where the first arc, the God Butcher, people are like, if you read nothing else, read this. Both of those runs just like start off with a bang with like these game-changing, character-defining runs.
What about you? Have you been reading anything interesting lately?
I've been reading so much, like just catching up on like current stuff. On like Marvel's side of things, since the beginning of his run, I've been reading Ryan North's Fantastic Four, which is probably going to go down in history as like one of the all-time great Fantastic Four runs. I think so many people are like, it's the best run we've had since Hickman, and that's true. It is, absolutely.
I believe you, but the last guy wasn't bad either, in my opinion. I know you weren't the biggest fan, but
Oh, Dan Slott's run?
yeah, I liked his run.
It wasn't bad. I enjoyed Dan Slott's run, but at the same time, I don't know, it wasn't great either. They did some like good things, but for the most part, like not a lot really happened that was super interesting. I feel like the most interesting thing to me about Dan Slott's run was a lot of the work was done on the Thing as like so like the Thing and Alicia finally got married in Dan Slott's run. The
Yeah.
Thing and Alicia like adopted two alien children in that run too. Like those are the two most important things that happened in that run. The rest of it I thought was pretty like it's fun, but like and he clearly loves the characters and the next most important thing is probably just bringing them back to begin with because Dan Slott's run was the first Fantastic Four run since Secret Wars back in 2015, so that was like 3 years later in 2018 when they finally brought back the Fantastic Four.
Because Perlmutter wanted to cancel projects that, like, the Marvel didn't really have media connections to because of the Fox Universal purchases in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. So like this was a time also when the X-Men were being sidelined in favor of the Inhumans because they were trying to make the Inhumans a thing, which wasn't going to happen because the Inhumans are already doing their own thing and they were basically just trying to make them the new X-Men. Just couldn't happen. And the Fantastic Four were just shoved aside entirely. Reed and Sue were written out, and then the Human Torch and the Thing were put onto other things, like the Human Torch became an Avenger for a bit, the Thing became a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. They were just shoved off to other projects.
I remember my favorite thing about Dan Slott was they had the story where Johnny Storm finds a soulmate, and then he responds by cucking Dr. Doom out on his wedding night.
Yeah, Johnny Storm's storyline in that run is messy, to say the least. Like, yeah, I mean, the wedding of Doctor Doom, that moment is very funny when,
Yeah.
like, at the altar, Victorious, who is about to marry Doctor Doom, literally confesses that she slept with Johnny Storm, and everyone's reaction is so funny, especially Namor, who just starts laughing, which is so good. But the Ryan North Fantastic Four run, I think, has been just banger after banger just from the get-go. I think Ryan North does a really good job at just writing like really smart, like exciting, like sci-fi stories. It
Yeah.
feels very Star Trek. I also love how like one and done most of the stories are, and so it's very like new reader friendly too. And it's also, they're all very character centric. So like I feel like each character gets a chance to shine in this run because you have certain issues that focus on Mr. Fantastic, or some issues that focus on the Human Torch, or some of them even that focus on Alicia Masters Grimm, who's married to the Thing now, so she's part of the family. So I love how like different members of the family get spotlighted and how character focused it is, but also still how fun, wacky, like sci-fi, which is very true to the Fantastic Four in both ways, like the character focus and sci-fi all at the same time. One World Under Doom was also written by Ryan North, and that happened concurrently with a good chunk of his Fantastic Four run. And what I find really funny is despite like a lot of the mixed reactions to that event, and I was kind of like, I'm not really vibing with this, the tie-ins in the main Fantastic Four series that were also written by Ryan North were so much better. And I was like, damn, some of these are like some of the best single issues of Fantastic Four I've ever read. So it's really funny how it's like, yeah, this probably works better as just a self-contained, like
Uh,
all in like smaller scale kind of comic rather than making it like big and event focused. And I think that
I
should be a lesson for Marvel and DC. Maybe make things a little less larger than life and event focused.
I have a hot take about Doctor Doom and events.
Yeah, what's that?
I think you don't need to do the thing where he has to constantly take over the world or take Galactus's power anymore. It's been done so many times that I feel him as a character would have grown past it by now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that whole idea kind of peaked in Secret Wars when he literally became God Emperor Doom.
And he gave it up. Like, it destroys the character to go like he took over the world and then he gives it up because he realizes he shouldn't be ruler of the world, just for him to go back to conquering the world.
And like he admits that Reed could have done it better finally. And Reed eventually takes that same power and uses it to like heal the multiverse.
Enter Captain America into a Nazi.
Well, that actually happened for totally different reasons.
Huh.
But he also like heals Doom's face and it's like a perfect ending for the character. But now because of like the cyclical nature of things, Doom is like right back to square one, trying
Yeah.
to just rule the world again. I'm like, okay, buddy. Like I feel like it's been played out.
Yeah, I'm sick of it. I think during Dan Slott's run, Doom takes the power of Galactus, and I'm like, you've done it twice now. You don't need to do it a third time. You learned your
Yeah.
lesson. I think my problem with like Marvel and to a lesser degree DC is sometimes better at it, is that you do these events where the characters progress and they learn their lesson, but then corporate wants to make things go back to the status quo in
Yeah.
some way, and you go like, well, they learned their lesson. Like Spider-Man's like the big one where like, really, the New Mutants could have kids and have grown up, but he can't. He's still broke.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like the illusion of change when it's really like the never ending story
Yeah.
for a lot of these characters where it's like, all right, this is a tale as old as time.
Yeah, and I think, like, to a certain degree, I think certain characters should just be allowed to move on. Like, for some reason, the New Mutants were allowed to move on. Why can't anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, even then, a lot of them will end up like as just New Mutants and not like full on X-Men.
Yeah, but at least they have spouses and kids now, so it's little.
Yeah, they've grown up, that's for
They've
sure.
grown. Yeah, I do find it weird that Scott Summers is supposed to be like Spider-Man's age. Spider-Man's still stuck as like a 20-year-old. Scott Summers seems middle-aged, and like the
Yeah.
New Mutants who are younger than Spider-Man are like have kids.
Yeah, like Cannonball.
Yeah, Cannonball and Rain. Though I don't know if you count Rain that storyline.
I'll allow it. But
Yeah,
I'm also reading The Mortal Thor, which I'm really loving. Like, it's a continuation from The Immortal Thor. I'm like a ride or die for Al Ewing, so I will read pretty much anything he writes at this point. If he wrote like the phone book, I would read it. And I love just his Thor run because it feels a lot like the Immortal Hulk, where there's a lot of reverence and just general love for all of the continuity for the character, which is super cool to see when a writer's able to like weave decades of continuity into a tale that kind of makes sense and makes it seem like this has all just been one long story for the character and he's just writing the next chapter. And there's also so much love for just the classic 60s, like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby stuff. That's very apparent here. But this is also fun because right now, the Mortal Thor, there's a lot of like mystery surrounding it. Thor's technically dead and like erased from the collective memory of Earth, along with like all of Asgard, which is crazy. Like, this is a crazy status quo that like Asgard has been cut off from the other 9 realms. Now, Thor in memory has been replaced with Beta Ray Bill, which I find hilarious. And like, good for you, Beta Ray Bill. That's awesome. Bill finally gets his moment, which I love.
Well, he's had his moments a few times. He was in Hulk versus the World, the Hulk
He was
move
in the
cart.
Planet Hulk animated movie, yeah.
He was also in Earth's Mightiest Heroes. So
That's true. But
yeah,
I find it really funny. And then also Thor's like in the underworld, but there's this like Nordic man named Sigurd Jarlson, which was also conveniently an alias used by Thor in the past. He's been imbued with like the soul and the spirit of like Donald Blake. So there's this whole mystery as to like who he is, why he's mortal, like what the whole point of this is. It's like really the next stage in Al Ewing's run. And so I'm interested to see more. And he's going up against Donald Blake, who I honestly feel bad for because he did get his soul taken. He's also leading the Serpent Society though, so I don't feel that bad for him. This whole run is so far has been like mortal Thor versus Nazis, and I'm kind of here for it. He's just been bashing them in the head with a hammer, just a regular buff like Nordic guy just beating guys up with a hammer, and it's actually very entertaining.
we all love it when you are allowed to hit Nazis. It's always fun.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
especially in this day and age, I'm like, yeah, have at it.
yeah. The last Thor thing I read was an Avengers comic where it's revealed that Thor is possibly the son of the Phoenix Force.
Yeah, no, that was Jason Aaron's Avengers run. That was
Yeah,
awful.
yeah. I was a little confused by that.
I think that was forgotten or got retconned. Like, nobody wants to talk about that again. I think even at the time, Donny Cates was writing Thor and in his run basically like disregarded that. Like, I think he was talking with like Freya and she was like, yeah, don't worry about that. It doesn't matter. Yeah, Jason Aaron, it's crazy because his Thor run was incredible and like character redefining in so many ways. This is how you get Gore the God Butcher and you get Jane Foster as the mighty Thor and the War of the Realms and all this really cool stuff. And then you see his Avengers run and you're like, this man did not cook. He thought he did, and he did not cook with this one.
You know, you and I were just talking about this before we recorded. There's some writers who are good at writing one stories, mini stories, or some who are good at like overarching massive plots, but usually they're not good at like the other two. You're good at one
Yeah,
of three. You're not good at or two of three. You're not good at all.
yeah, that's true. Like some characters and some types of comics are going to appeal to a writer's strengths more than others. And
Yeah.
they're not all going to be winners, is the thing. Because, like, I don't mean to disrespect Jason Aaron. I love Jason Aaron on Thor and I love his, like, Wolverine stuff. I'm enjoying Absolute Superman right now that he's
Mhm.
writing. But, like, there's some stuff where I'm like, man, you did not cook, dude.
Mhm.
Avengers is one of the cases where I'm like, yeesh.
It's the other one I'm thinking is that like I feel Marvel does this because I know the other companies do this where like if you're a good writer you get like more arcs to yourself as like a reward and then you eventually become like head of a desk for a show or for like a comic
Yeah.
series. But sometimes you're so good at writing one shots, mini stories, you're not really good at actually leading and managing a team or being the head writer, and it shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Some things work better than others. Like, I think Mark Guggenheim was an example of this on Arrow. I think he wrote some like phenomenal episodes of the show. As a showrunner on the Arrow, though, man, Arrow suffered after that.
Was he the one that made it all about Felicity? Felicity?
Yes, it's always all about Felicity from that moment forward.
Did I Arrow just devolved into like a sitcom based or a love story, didn't it?
So awful. It was just fanfic at that point. That's what I
Yeah.
was reading was someone's Tumblr fanfic.
Wasn't it Arrow? There's like we're gonna bring in this like this hardcore villain, and it was a Marvel villain, but the season was so down in the ratings at the time, Marvel didn't even bother suing.
Yeah, because like it was so funny. The showrunners were so out of touch that the other showrunner, Wendy Miracle, was like, "Yeah, this is a big villain in DC," and you're like, "That's pretty sure that's a Marvel character." Also, such an obscure Marvel character that like nobody cares, like Scimitar or something.
Which story is he from? Like Avengers,
I
Spider-Man,
have
or?
no earthly idea. That's how obscure it is.
My big thing, this is like a side note, is they made a Batwoman show, which I heard was okay, where they go like, she's a social justice warrior that fights for the little guy, and I'm like, isn't that supposed to be Green Arrow?
Yeah, that's what Arrow should have been as a show.
Yeah.
Instead, they were like, we actually secretly want to make a Batman show, and it's not actually that secret because we can all tell this is Green Batman.
Yeah. I remember someone made a joke that Hawkeye is a ripoff of a ripoff because he's a ripoff of Green Arrow, who is a ripoff of Batman to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
love Green Arrow and love Hawkeye, but that is very true.
I think Green Arrow and Hawkeye are great characters because they eventually evolved into their own things too.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. They're
Yeah.
like the concept of Archer on the team is pretty much the same, but also they have like differences in character and
Yeah.
like the purposes that they serve.
Yeah. Green Arrow, they changed him a lot. Like, he's a ripoff of Batman, but they changed him to his more political. His company's different. He has a different view of the world. Like, he
Yeah,
kills.
exactly. Yeah, he's killed on occasion too. Hawkeye's pretty different because Hawkeye is often just the loudmouth on the team and also the one who's probably got the most heart too, because he also has no superpowers compared to most of the Avengers. And he's like stuck with the team for so long and showed so much loyalty and like started the West Coast Avengers, for example.
Yeah. He's also the most, maybe this is more from Ultimates that carried on over, he's the most employee of the Avengers, where you go like, oh, this guy has a W-2, I bet, somewhere in his like tax receipts.
Yeah, no, definitely. Especially Ultimate Hawkeye, that is for sure. And MCU Hawkeye. But I'm also reading Infernal Hulk right now, which is very good. Philip Kennedy Johnson and Nick Klein on art for that one. And it continues off from their Incredible Hulk work, which is basically like they're leaning more into the eldritch horror of the Hulk.
Yeah.
It's a gruesome, unabashed eldritch horror comic. The whole idea here is after the ending of the Incredible Hulk, the Hulk's body has been possessed by the eldest of like these creatures that are all children of like the mother of all horrors. And so the eldest has like taken over Hulk's body and is now just like running around wreaking havoc and just trying to like take over the world and make it a world for monsters. Meanwhile, Bruce Banner and Betty Ross are like living their life in suburbia. The latest issue, Infernal Hulk #3, literally has like Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic arrive at their doorstep and be like, Bruce, what the fuck? And Bruce is like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm done.
You know, I know of no worse place if I was the Hulk to live than in suburbia. Maybe it is because I hate suburbia, but
Yeah.
I'm like, there's nothing more infuriating than just waiting in traffic for 45 minutes to move 3 miles.
Yeah. Well, they're doing like research lab work, and it's interesting too because it kind of shows like how stir crazy and powerless like Betty feels by contrast. Because now Betty feels like I'm not strong anymore and I need that power back and I'm helpless now. While Bruce Banner's like, no, I'm free. I'm not going to be the Hulk anymore. But it's cool to see like the difference between their attitude and like being depowered and not being a gamma creature anymore. So I'm looking forward to seeing like how Banner returns to the Hulk inevitably and how the Hulk persona makes a comeback. The next issue 4, is really exciting because they're showing like in the solicits that they're going into the Hulk's mindscape. So you're probably going to deal with like all the different alters of the Hulk, like, you know, the Savage Green Hulk, and you've got Joe Fixit, and maybe like Professor Hulk, or hopefully Devil Hulk makes a comeback from Immortal Hulk, or the Green Scar.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see them all interacting and how eventually like the true Hulk makes a comeback and like takes control once again, smashes.
Have you been catching up with any of the mystical stuff or the supernatural comics? Not the show Supernatural.
I mean, right now, like Doctor Strange is in an interesting place because he's in Asgard, which is a cool status quo, not being the Sorcerer Supreme anymore. I know the Scarlet Witch right now is the Sorcerer Supreme after the events of One World Under Doom and everything, but I did read when it was like Doctor Strange, Agent of Asgard, which was a pretty fun series, honestly. I liked seeing him a little out of his element and like in this totally different context, which is fun when you take a character and put them in a totally new setting in a different corner of the Marvel universe.
I support Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlet Witch, as the Sorcerer Supreme. That's a great pick in my view.
Why'd you say Elizabeth Olsen
I
specifically?
said Wanda Maximoff.
You said Elizabeth. Let's play it back.
Tomato potato. I
Corn
think
dog.
that's not.
This guy's over here just gooning about Elizabeth Olsen. He's like, I support Elizabeth Olsen as the Sorcerer Supreme.
We all need a Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah,
a women represent.
A mommy supreme.
Yes, but I know that's not how this works. But if I was the HR guy for Magic and Wanda Maximoff handed me her resume, I fully support it. But on paper, she should not become the Sorcerer Supreme. I'm like, you have the Sorcerer Supreme gets all this power, and you're a little mentally unstable. You technically have done 1 or 2 genocides at one point. So
I mean, she's done a lot of work to redeem herself since then.
yeah, but I'm like, I'll pass Elizabeth Wanda Maximoff. You could do a different job.
He can't help himself, folks. He can't help it.
But I really love Scarlet Witch. I love Doctor Strange. I feel Doctor Strange for the last maybe since the movie for the last few years, his comics have just been kicking it out of the park.
Yeah, I love the Jed McKay stuff.
Is that when he fought Loki?
No, the Jed McKay run, that's with like Pascal Ferry on art. Pascal Ferry, who's doing like Mortal Thor now.
Yeah.
And that was a really fun, like good run where he goes up against like General Strange, who is Doctor Strange from another timeline that was erased, where like he became like this aggressive like warlord and lost a lot of like the compassion that he has like as a doctor and a sorcerer. And so he has to go up against this other version of himself. And the resolution to that was really sweet and really nice, where like he actually helps to rehabilitate him because he's like, I'm a doctor. It's my purpose to heal, not to harm. So I thought that was cool. I love that. And I thought that Asgard stuff was really well done. I thought that was a lot of fun. Just seeing like him with a new cast and being in Asgard and like adapting to everything there.
If you were to put any human character into Asgard, it would be Doctor Strange, where like he's different enough that everything's new, but he's like magic, so he understands it a bit.
Yes.
Also, my favorite thing about Doctor Strange, I keep saying this, I'm so sorry if someone has heard me say it over and over, is that the epitome of his character is in that, I can't remember who the writer is, but he temporarily gives up being Sorcerer Supreme and he becomes a veterinarian for some reason. Yeah. And Spider-Man tells him, like, unlike the rest of us, you've always were a hero. The rest of us needed powers to become heroes, but he said, when you had like nothing, chose to become a hero by being a doctor. So that's who you are deep down, is a hero, Strange.
All he really needed was a lesson in humility.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite thing about Doctor, he's one of my favorite comic characters, is that like he is so arrogant and like dickish, like even at his most heroic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he will sacrifice himself, but also like he just does think he's better than everyone else because like he carried on over from like, I am this fancy doctor, I learned humility, and now he's like, I'm a fancy sorcerer and I'm a dick again.
The interesting thing is, yeah, the arrogance does creep in every now and again, back from like when he was this like hot shot like surgeon. I think it gets tempered and like he gets humbled every now and then to remind him. But yeah, there is a lot of arrogance that goes into Stephen Strange as a character.
Yeah.
And I think that makes him like an interesting dynamic character. He's not like purely heroic. There is some ego there for sure.
Yeah. He has a big ego, as any surgeon does,
Yeah, as any doctor does.
As any doctor does, but he's a doctor and is a sorcerer for the same reason that he genuinely is also a good person.
Yeah, he also cares about people and helping others.
A good person is not without flaws, and his both. You can see both his flaws and the inherent goodness from the get-go just by seeing who he is. Just in these comics.
I've also been reading Captain America. The Chip Zdarsky stuff has been really good.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's being positioned as like a really big title to like lead into like the center of the Marvel universe. It's like leading into this big event that they're doing in the summer called Armageddon. It kind of is picking up the pieces from One World Under Doom after like Doom like vanishing and like Latveria being without him now. It was a really good first arc that they had of it's a flashback of Captain America teaming up with David Coulson, who is like the Captain America for the War on Terror, and they go into Latveria and fight and face off against Doctor Doom because they're originally just supposed to be rescuing hostages, but the whole mission goes sideways. And I think now it's been like brought to the present day, and now Captain America's going into Latveria once again, but with Doom gone. And I think it's a lot of like grappling with a lot of political commentary and a lot of political questions about just like how much they can do in the face, and like also like what Captain America means and how it's different as the world changes, because now as time has gone on, I think we've talked about this a bit before, the ambiguity of like being a soldier and being in the army and being part of war like has come up more and more through like Korea and then Vietnam and then Iraq and Afghanistan, and you're like, oh my gosh. So it's interesting to see where this goes. It's setting the groundwork for this big event. It's like really just getting started, I feel, but I'm excited to see where it goes.
That sounds really interesting. I am a little tired of the Doctor Doom is away from Latveria. Latveria becomes like a civil war because I'm like, that's happened like half a dozen times too.
Yeah.
Where like it's really good. It's a really good idea, but I'm like, you guys done it a million times, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a fair point. Also, like the idea of another flawed Captain America, like from another war. Once again, I'm like, all right, we got Cold War era Captain America from the 1950s. We got like Reagan era Captain America in John Walker. And now we're getting like War on Terror Captain America. I'm like, we're getting so many just like different spins on like Captain America, but like he's not Steve Rogers and he was from a different time, so things changed. And I'm like, yeah, that can feel a little repetitive sometimes.
Yeah. I always forget that like technically Reed Richards and Professor X are technically Korean War veterans.
Yes. Well, they created their own war in Marvel to make it time work with the sliding time scale. So like
Yeah.
it's like the Sien Kong War. So it's like a stand-in for like basically Vietnam, but like not really Vietnam because it's a fictional country.
Yeah.
But then there's the whole X-Men corner of things, which is very interesting right now. I think ever since the ending of the Krakoa era, it's hard to top that. And the ending did not stick the landing. Also, it was a little bit like rushed, it felt, for a lot of people.
I've heard a lot of people complain about the ending. They just rushed Krakoa really quickly, basically.
Yeah, it did feel very abrupt and very sloppy and like forced and rushed. And so after that too, like once you go back to the usual like, all right, the X-Men and mutants are persecuted and they're on the run, it feels like society isn't safe for mutants. Once we get back to like that general idea again, people are like, oh, but we had Krakoa, which was fresh and new and different and exciting.
People were happy.
People were happy, yeah. So it's hard to follow up on that. I feel like the From the Ashes era, which was the next era, was kind of like hit or miss. It's like a mixed bag of like definitely not as many hits as Krakoa. Like I think with Krakoa they were like firing on all cylinders for a while, where like there were a couple of stinkers, but for the most part it was like it had been a while since the X-Men as a line was so consistently good. I think with this, it's kind of more hit or miss. Like the ones I'm following are like Gail Simone on Uncanny X-Men.
She is a great writer.
So that's been great. It's a small like core cast of X-Men just in Louisiana, and they're mentoring these like young mutants called the Outliers, and all those characters are really fun. I really love those kids, like Ransom, who is also Sunspot's cousin. There's like Jitter and there's Death Dream, and but you know the main core cast of like big name X-Men like Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Rogue, Gambit, Jubilee. And you get a lot of good stuff with like, especially Rogue and Gambit, because Rogue's the leader, and like Gambit gets so much spotlight because they are in Louisiana. So like, it feels
It's
like
his
this is really
hometown.
his time to shine. Yeah, like he's really like honestly like the star of the show in this, and I really love that because he was sidelined a lot during Krakoa. To be fair,
Yeah.
I feel like he and Rogue were sidelined a lot during Krakoa. So I'm glad to see like the two of them getting the spotlight they deserve.
Yeah. Gail Simone is really great because she's also on Twitter, and she or whatever Twitter's
Now it's
called
Blue
now,
Sky, yeah.
Blue Sky, and she was really funny. And I remember people. She was like, if Polaris was picked to be in the new X-Men and they take her away from me, I'm just gonna throw her into the hole just to fuck up the canon a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was like Leah Williams who was writing X Factor at the
Oh,
time.
maybe it was Leah Williams. But
Yeah.
Gail Simone's also fun on Blue Sky
Yeah,
Twitter.
she's really funny. She trolls a lot of fans online, which I think is deserved because sometimes they need to get over themselves.
Yeah.
And I think she's just a fantastic writer. Like I loved like her Secret Six work, for example, or I loved the Variant miniseries she did a couple years ago of like Jessica Jones. I mean, she's just a really smart, like fun writer, really great storytelling. So
Yeah.
one of the all-time greats. And like David Marquez and Luciano Vecchio, I think is how you say his name, on art, they're like killing it.
Yeah.
And then there's also Adjectiveless X-Men, which is written by Jed McKay, and it's Cyclops' X-Men team in Alaska. And this is more mutant focused in terms of they're fighting this threat of this group called 3K, which is basically a new brotherhood of evil mutants because their whole thing is like activating the mutant gene in regular humans and like turning them into mutants.
It's always been like the mixed thing in X-Men is that in a world with like Spider-Man, you go like, so if you activate someone's gene artificially, are they a mutant or not?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's tough to tell, but I guess in this case they're going with, yeah, they become mutants somehow. But I think this has been a really fun series because I just love how it's been very fast paced, very action heavy, and the team is itself is very diverse and dynamic. It's not like your typical X-Men team because you've got a variety of pulls. You have like Temper or Idea Conquo. She's like one of the younger X-Men. She was spotlighted a lot during like Wolverine and the X-Men, for example. She controls like elements. You've got Quentin Quire, Kid Omega, which I know is
Oh,
not everyone. Most people hate him. I shouldn't bring
I
him up.
I love him. I love him as a character. I just also love it when he gets his ass kicked regularly.
Yeah, yeah, that was like in Ben Percy's X-Force when he was getting killed off every 5 seconds just for comedic value. But
Yeah.
Juggernaut's a big part of this team, which is a lot of fun. You have like obviously Cyclops with Magic as his second in command, and Psylocke. Kanan plays a big part. It's a lot of really like badass, like heavy hitters. Like Magneto's part of the group, and you also have Clone Beast, but like all he remembers is like everything from like the mid 80s and before, so like during his time in the Defenders, so like good guy Beast. But the big twist now is like we're in this post Age of Revelation saga now that's called Shadows of Tomorrow, and I'm like, good riddance, because Age of Revelation, I could not with that. I'm sorry. It was like more riffing on Age of Apocalypse. But now it's been revealed that 3K is actually led by the original Beast, who is like full on supervillain now. So it's very interesting being like, oh my gosh, it's the X-Men versus Evil Beast. Hell
I'm
yeah.
glad Evil Beast is back because I thought bringing back Old Beast was a cop out.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good way to like have your cake and eat it too. I'm like,
Thank you.
if you miss the old like fun like good guy Beast, he's there on the X-Men. But if you liked Beast's like descent into like villainy over the decades and actually thought that was an interesting development, well, he's there too, and he's the bad guy. So it's kind of like a win-win, which I like, instead of just throwing all that progress away.
I think this is the reason Annika said you beat me in that debate. Comics is a place where sometimes you could just eat it and have it too.
Yeah, that's true in a lot of ways.
I don't know what that means. I don't
It
know if
means
that's
you get
innuendo.
both. You get good
Yeah,
Beast and bad Beast.
but sometimes I think, look, characters regress. Like, people regress. Some people start off as ideologic, like, great crusaders, and they end up becoming terrible people who sell out in the end.
So you'd rather that they just didn't like create that clone good guy Beast.
I mean, look, I haven't read this specific arc, so I don't know.
That's
But I'm
fair.
like, I don't like this idea where it's same thing with the status quo. Where you always have to make it the status quo. I think characters should be allowed to descend into darkness or lightness, especially because Magneto is basically now a permanent good guy. Basically now a controversial permanent good guy.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
yeah.
true.
Well, like every other character, it's like they have to be in the middle or like they can't regress too much. Like Doctor Doom and should honestly maybe not be a good guy, but should be more gray now. But they just
Yeah.
keep making him conquer the world. When I'm like, he learned his lesson. He knows it's not good anymore.
Yeah, and on the other side of things, it would be interesting to have a character that just descends into villainy for a
Like
change.
Beast.
Yeah,
Yes.
like Beast. Yeah,
Or the Maker. Everyone loves the Maker.
that's true. But then again, that's just an alternate universe version of Reed. Main Reed is still a good guy.
Talking of space stuff, have you been reading Guardians?
No, I still need to. On my reading list is reading Annihilation from like 2007 or something. Because my major blind spot in Marvel Comics is Cosmic Marvel. I couldn't tell you anything about what's going on with Cosmic Marvel or Guardians of the Galaxy or anything. I'm ignorant to that. I am like, the most I know is what I saw in the movies.
If you read Star Wars comics, sometimes and if you read Star Wars like the expanded universe stuff or the legend stuff, whatever it's called now, and you read Guardians of the Galaxy, it's remarkably similar in that like you go like, and they're just talking about these different races and countries that you go like, I didn't know this existed, and then there's just like, if you look it up, there's just like 3,000 pages of lore for this species that like the rest of Marvel just doesn't touch. As I've read a decent amount of Guardians, and yeah, I like it.
All right. Well, I still need to read Cosmic Marvel, so I don't have much that I can actually say on any of that.
I just want to say I'm glad Marvel is taking my suggestion that I've never given them for Star-Lord by giving him a cowboy hat finally.
Well, I'm sure they just came up with that on their own then.
Yeah, well, because in my mind, I thought Star-Lord should always wear a cowboy hat.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they're finally moving away from the Chris Pratt synergy stuff, they've given him the cowboy hat.
Well, I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your achievement.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to so many things in the X-Men line, though. Generally, I read the first issue of the new Magic and Colossus miniseries that just started, and that was very good. I'm excited to see those two together again more, and also just to like get more development for Colossus, which we haven't really had any positive development for him in like decades. He's been through too much, and I feel like it's time for him to just go through some healing. So I hope this is the first step.
I've heard the Magic solo series was not that good.
No, it was great. I don't know who you heard that from. Yeah, I love the Magic stuff. Ashley Allen killed it.
Damn, I avoided it because people said it sucked and it was character assassination.
It was not. No, that was such a good series. It was so in line with her character.
Well, okay, well now I actually have to read it, so.
Yeah. No, you should read the Magic miniseries. It was really good. It was like 10 issues.
Love Magic.
Yeah, and so now the same creative team is doing Magic and Colossus, which is like even better, finally. We rarely get to see these two together. And what I like is the comic actually addresses that, and it's addressing a lot of the trauma that Colossus has been through, and a lot of the strain that the relationship between Magic and Colossus has been through. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
She basically could have saved him from the Juggernaut when he was in the Juggernaut suit for a bit, isn't it?
Well, in that storyline, she literally tricked him into taking on the Juggernaut and like becoming the new Juggernaut, really, and becoming the avatar of Sidorak.
Yeah. But she also could have taken him out of the suit, is what she revealed at the end of that arc, right?
At any time, she could have freed him, but she just wanted to teach him a lesson.
I would do that. I'll be honest. I am the kind of person that would just teach someone in that.
That was one of my least favorite moments between the two of them ever. I was like, that's actually awful.
What do you expect from her? She's like poor demon.
She's like a good person, though. Deep down,
I think that's like a recent thing. I think in a lot of her older stuff, whether she's a good person or not is seriously debatable in some comics.
Oh man. Well, yeah, I feel like she's been ambiguous a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I feel like more recently she's gone towards the more heroic side of things, which is a good progression. And what I really liked about the Magic series that Ashley Allen, and I think the art, you say German Peralta? I think the two of them, what I liked about their series was generally just that, like, it worked a lot on Magic coming to terms with the Dark Child side of herself and making peace with that, and, like, the two of them kind of reconciling. And so it was really good character work for her and good development.
This was the thing where, like, the Dark Child would just refer to Liliana as a separate person, though, right?
Yeah, well, I feel like it's part of her, is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's been part of her since the Magic miniseries and her time in Limbo. And I think it's the acceptance of that and, like, embracing it that really, like, led to a big development for her.
Yeah. I will say, some of my other friends hate the idea of Magic. They're like, I don't know why you like the character of Magic, Josh. We don't like the fact that she's mutant, a sorcerer, and a demon. Pick one. And I'm like, well, those powers, except her mutant powers, are a little different from her wizard powers and her Dark Child power. And they're like, you can't just be all three. And I'm like, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
She's not it's not like she's like ridiculously overpowered or anything.
No,
Like
that's
you can
Captain
be more
Britain.
than one thing. It's interesting actually if you're more than one thing. It's kind of boring if you are just the one thing. Like
Exactly.
characters can be dynamic, characters can have different dimensions to them.
If you have a mutant power to shoot hairballs from your mouth at like supersonic rate, why can't you just augment that by reading a magic book and getting and returning not just getting throwing balls out but throwing fireballs?
Yeah, that's true.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
Amen.
Thank you.
There's so many good like things go like to look forward to with the X-Men and the new Shadows of Tomorrow, like a lot of fun miniseries. I'm looking forward to like the Cyclops miniseries that they're gonna do. I'm looking forward to like the new Deadpool series that Ben Percy's gonna be writing, which should be really fun. I think X-Men United, especially written by Eve Ewing, who I think did a great job on Exceptional X-Men. I'm really looking forward to X-Men United because I know a lot of people are tired of like the X-Men running a school. But yeah, they're starting a new school, okay? So get over it. And this is interesting because Emma Frost is going to be running the show. She's like that new headmistress of this school that she's starting.
No,
And I'm
just
just glad that the X-Men are finally like working together again because for a good chunk of From the Ashes, the new status quo was focused on the division between so many different groups after Krakoa. And I was like, okay, but can friends just be friends again? Like, can we stop with the Schism 2.0 kind of stuff?
I'm not sure if they do it on purpose. It's a little accurate. You get all these radical groups, and they're just full of schisms.
Yeah,
The People's
but
Front of
like,
Judea versus the Judean People's Front.
I do just like the X-Men being the X-Men United, pun fully intended again, because
United,
like
they will not be divided.
exactly. Starting a school for the next generation. And because I feel like From the Ashes was pretty bleak before this, I'm excited to see some more hope for the new generation. And especially with like Xavier out of the picture and like out in space. Now we can get some new blood in charge, like Emma Frost, to run things, which will be a big change.
Especially because she's an actual teacher.
Yeah, she's been a teacher
Yeah.
at Massachusetts Academy, at the Xavier Institute. She's good at it. She is like the teacher when it comes to like the X-Men, if you think of them, other than obviously Professor X. But like
Yeah, but she
still,
doesn't bang her students, so.
no, that's true. And she doesn't think about how she's in love with them, like Professor X and Jean.
That was like,
Anyways,
wasn't that just like a throwaway line that like no one ever addressed until like the 90s, and they're like,
until Onslaught, yeah. And I was
yeah,
like, why did we ever address this again?
yeah.
I'm tired of people saying Professor X is in love with Jean. It's awful.
Is this going to be in Westchester?
It's not going to be in Westchester because the status quo of the X-Men is literally like Greymocken is like a prison right now for mutants, which a lot of people take issue with because it's like, why have the X-Men not shut this down already? Why have they not just raided the Greymocken like prison and like taken back like the old mansion? And I'm like, yeah, that is weird that like that's still just happening and they have so many X-Men teams that could stop this.
Because I wanted to ask because I'm like, Westchester, that's one of the areas that's I'm looking at.
Yes,
There's cheap
that's true.
places there. That's cheap. Once I go there, I will look for the X Mansion.
Yeah. That'll be great.
I've heard Kamala Khan, who, despite what some MCU supremacists say, is a beloved comics character. I've heard her recent stuff have not been good.
Yeah, it's been tough for Kamala Khan since like they made her a mutant in the comics. I think she has like they've been trying to like fold her in to the X-Men more and it just feels a little forced. They're trying to synergize with the MCU making her a mutant and it's just like let her be her own thing. Even like when she was an Inhuman, she didn't really associate with the Inhumans that much.
Because she's her own thing, really. At
Yeah,
this,
exactly,
you know.
because she's her own thing. I enjoyed some of her initial stuff when she became a mutant, like the comic that Iman Vellani, who also plays Ms. Marvel in the MCU, co-wrote, like where she's like exploring her identity as a mutant. Like those solo comics that she wrote, like Ms. Marvel, those were really good for the character. I thought like her part in like Fall of X during the fall of Krakoa, that was fun seeing her like help out the mutants and everything. But after that, I'm like, okay, guys, especially when they did like the giant size X-Men, like, was it like 50th anniversary specials that were all about like Kamala Khan, like traveling through like different parts of X-Men history to fight like one of Legion's evil alters, I was like, oh my god. This is what we're doing to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Giant Size X-Men. We're just like spotlighting Ms. Marvel, just like leaping across X-Men history. Really?
Yeah.
It felt like a waste of time.
I'm okay with her being a mutant because I always felt her being an Inhuman was like more of a corporate thing, and they're just trying to fix some stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with certain characters that were mutants being turned back into mutants, like Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, Spider Girl, if you count her, Squirrel Girl. But you sometimes gotta do it right. You can't just the way you stringhold certain characters into something else, and you want to change them back. You gotta do it right. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they could make her a mutant and make her an ally to the X-Men, but I don't feel like she has to be featured in the X titles, if that makes sense. Like,
Because her best comics were always solo comics to begin with, right? Or when she was a featured character as opposed to being a cast character.
yeah, it's still fun for her to like team up with like Wolverine or someone, for instance, or guest star in an X-Men book or something, but it's interesting when, and it makes the Marvel universe feel more interconnected when you can have someone be a mutant and still not be on the X-Men, for example.
Like the Runaways.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, I don't know, Firestar when she was like an Avenger for so long. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next era of X-Men, but I am also sad, speaking of, that Ultimate Marvel 2.0 is ending very soon.
Yeah.
I've still been enjoying, obviously, the titles as they come out. Like, I've been reading like Ultimate Endgame, and I've been reading the Ultimates as it wraps up, which it's so sad to see because I think Denise Camp has become like one of my favorite comic book writers from the Ultimates, especially because this is just such a total 180 from what we got with the OG Ultimate series. They are not actual government stooges. Here they are actually fighting against the establishment, and they're fighting against like a corrupt regime and fighting for like the people of Earth to be freed from like the Maker and his council. And at the same time, I love the Ultimates because it's just such a cool new take on a lot of these characters. Each issue of the series feels like it's focused on another member of the Ultimates and like their story in this new Ultimate universe and how it was altered and how it's different. They each get a spotlight, they each get a chance to shine, and it makes for like an interesting ensemble cast. But there's also so much relevant like political commentary on like today's climate as well, and they're fighting against like authoritarianism, and they're fighting against fascism, and you have a lot of really cool like new twists on old classic characters, but in a way that really works for the story they're telling here, and I'm gonna miss it so much.
Yeah. But I guess also you defended it ending once because you also said like you also at a certain point just don't want this to be like old Ultimates where like it just
It
goes
goes
on
on too
forever.
long. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you don't want it to overstay its welcome like original Ultimate Marvel, but I
Yeah.
feel like there's gotta be a middle ground because I'm like, oh man, it's only been like 2 years, really? Like, that's it? That's all we're getting?
Yeah.
Like, it's so sad. I could read this until whoever's writing these series is like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore because it's clearly not something that the creative teams chose. Like, even Jonathan Hickman in an interview was like, yeah, I was talking to like the president of Marvel and I was like, wait, we're wrapping this up? Like, Jonathan Hickman was the one to spearhead this new Ultimate Universe, and he's like, wait a minute, we're wrapping this up? Like, what? Like, it feels now like they're just being forced to like, all right, let's finish it up because that's all she wrote. And I'm like, why? You're shooting yourselves in the foot here.
Do you think this is a creative decision or do you think it's a corporate decision?
I don't know. It feels kind of like a corporate decision. Like, they're like, yep, that was it. We're done. I'm like, but why? Like, I'm interested to see how it ends and what the effects are because I know like there is going to be an impact on the main universe because there's like these origin boxes that like give people the tools they need to become like a superhero. And in a crossover with the Ultimate Universe, the new one, Miles Morales went in there and he took some of those origin boxes back to his universe and to keep them safe from like the Maker and his forces. They've teased Ultimate Impact, which is like, okay, so clearly these origin boxes are going to come into play somehow in the main Marvel universe and create some new characters or something. But that's it. We're just wrapping it up. No more Ultimate Universe. That's it.
It does seem quick. Not even 5 years.
No, yeah. Meanwhile, the absolute DC line is still like killing it, and Scott Snyder's like, we're not going to end it anytime soon. We have
I
no plans.
I do think with the Ultimate Marvel's AUs sometimes just go on for a long time and people just get them confused with the main universe. It is interesting that it happens with Marvel, if that makes sense. Like they just
Yeah.
sometimes have these long going AUs, and where casual fans confuse the alternate character with the main character at a certain point because they just go on forever and they influence each other, you know. But still,
Yeah, I wish that was the case with the new Ultimate Spider-Man. I wish people confused that for main Spider-Man.
because what, that he's sexually active or that there's no Paul?
Neither of those things sprang to mind. I just thought because he's like a mature adult with a
Uh,
wife and kids.
that too.
Yeah, like also Ultimate Spider-Man, aside from that, like not only giving Spider-Man fans what we've been asking for a long time, it also is just really well written and the cast is fleshed out. I know a lot of people have complained like, "Oh, they haven't focused on Peter enough." That's because they've been building up like and fleshing out like a really strong supporting cast of characters in this
Yeah,
title. J. Jonah Jameson and Uncle Ben have been such a great dynamic duo in this series for one thing. Mary Jane is a really strong, fleshed out character. Even like his kids, like Richard, his son, has been really well developed. You know, like Harry Osborn for sure has been super developed. Gwen Stacy, I know you'll love that, Josh.
I do.
Um, like so many strong, well-developed supporting cast members in this series and villains too. I mean, you've got like the Kingpin as the main guy, but then you also have his whole Sinister Six that he's got going, where you have like Mr. Negative is there. He got a really strong issue, and then you got like the Mole Man, and then you've got like this whole Council of Mysterios, and you've got Craven the Hunter, and like the Black Cat, like she's like the daughter of like the adult Black Cat, like her father. They all have their own motivations and they all have their own backstories. And I just love this world that was created in Ultimate Spider-Man as part of this new Ultimate Universe. So it's so sad
Yeah,
to see it all go. I was like, one of the things that I wish we would do is get more of that because it feels like so much of it had to happen in such a short period of time. In the grand scheme of things, 2 years, like 24 issues, that's not a whole lot, really.
yeah. I think what hurts about Ultimate Spider-Man though is that it's proof. Marvel says fans won't like Spider-Man if you make him change, and I'm like, yeah, he would. What's this
Yeah,
then?
like people like the fact that you can see progress and you can see a character grow and change and like develop. Like that's part of life. That's part of identifying with Spider-Man too. Like if he's the hero that could be you, don't you want to see like some comparable change and growth? Like
Yeah,
that's the thing. But I think they just always want to market it towards the younger audience that are like, yeah, he's always going to be like a young 20 something who's single and is like having money troubles because that's relatable for the younger people who are buying this comic. And I'm like, okay, but losing longtime readers, that's for sure.
yeah,
Eventually they're like, I'm tired of it because like I've grown past that is the
yeah.
thing.
And also, I feel the newer stuff, even if it's sometimes fun, it's not like young 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds. They still also want him to grow past that age.
One of the things that I liked when I first started reading Spider-Man comics was like I read the like Spider-Man encyclopedia or whatever, and I like
Oh,
read
me
about the
too.
yeah, it was cool, right?
It's a
You like
classic.
you get to read the character bio and everything and learn about his history. It's just cool seeing like, oh wow, like seeing how he grew up as Spider-Man and how he matured into adulthood and the changes he made. And
Yeah,
when I got into it in like the 2000s, it was like right before One More Day, and like he was married and like he had revealed his secret identity to Aunt May, for example, too, and like he was a teacher and like he was part of the Avengers, and I was like, oh my gosh, like so much character growth. I thought it was so cool.
that's the other thing is that um, the encyclopedia, as we hinted, does come before One More Day. Is that One More Day just kind of erases a lot of stuff. And you go like, you could
Yep.
follow this character growing, and then it's just a pause. It's a blank, like chalkboard just in the middle, and you just start off on this vague reverse course.
It sucks. It's like, okay, let's actually like erase progress, start from the save point, like going way back to
Yeah,
like the 80s. And we're
yeah.
like, okay. And there have been good comics since then, I'll be fair. Like, I love Dan Slott on Spider Man, as polarizing as his run was.
There was Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah, and Big Time before that too. I loved Big Time, Superior Spider-Man. He did overstay his welcome probably after that.
Superior.
Yeah, after Superior, once that was over, I'm like, I feel like that's probably where he should have called it. That would have been a great peak to end on, but then, you know, they kept going with like Parker Industries To be fair, there was the Spider-Verse storyline shortly after
Oh,
that,
I love the Spider-Verse storyline.
which was fun, but like, yeah, Parker Industries was also like, I wasn't a fan of it at the time, but at the same time, at least it was an idea that was new and different. So like, I got to give him credit for that.
Well, Parker Industries was like Superior Spider-Man started, and he just has to inherit it and run it into the ground, right?
Yeah. I mean, the way that he lost the company made sense for the character. He had this company, Parker Industries, and then it was during the Secret Empire storyline, like Doc Ock was working for the Secret Empire and they took control of it. And Peter was like, the only way I can save people and salvage all this is to like destroy the company and like shut down Parker Industries and destroy it from the inside. So that way, like, lives will be saved. He's being Spider-Man doing that. So
Yeah.
it's in character for him.
Yeah. Look, but also, if he's a billionaire running a tech company, we all know he's not going to end up poor. Look at all the
Yeah.
other billionaires who ran their companies into the ground. They're not having money troubles.
But somehow it's the Parker luck. He's gonna
Yeah.
wind up broke and single again.
Yeah. Let's be fair. The one thing I will kind of say, though, I don't think Marvel did this on purpose, is that Peter Parker's in his late 20s or his 30s, like kind of broke and single. That's a lot of guys with like the way the economy works now. Even
Yeah,
if they
that's
have like a
fair.
regular job, I think it's like he's usually now like a lab tech is what it usually is now, like a small time lab technician usually,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's relatable for guys in their late 20s, mid to late 20s today, probably. But
Yeah. You get a decent job, but you don't really advance much. You're still living with roommates and you're single.
yeah. But
Yeah.
like, a lot of us have moved past that.
You have moved past it. You have moved past it.
A little bit. I mean, I'm still like not where I want to be career wise, but at least I'm engaged. I'm in a stable relationship.
And you still also have roommates, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we'll be getting our own place soon, I promise.
Uh-huh.
Well, everyone, that wraps up our conversation. We've decided we're probably just going to do Marvel for this episode, and then next episode we'll be talking about DC comics and maybe even a couple of like indie comics we've been reading recently for the next episode, just so we don't do like a 2.5 hour episode. But
Yeah.
until next time, everyone, Josh, where can our listeners email us if they want to get in touch with us about the comics we read, comics in general, or our podcast, or pretty much anything?
As usual, it is ultimatecomicspodcast@gmail.com. Comics plural, podcast singular, ultimatecomicspodcast@gmail.com.
That is right. And we're also on social media, so many places. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all at Ultimate Comics Podcast. You can like the pictures that we post from the comics we're reading. You can like the reels or TikToks we post. And we also have full episodes with video on YouTube. Yeah, until next time, everyone, take care and make mine Ultimate Comics. Bye-bye.